When we were discussing it, there was this one moment that I instantly had the chills considering, which was a young woman. What her story is, I had no idea, but saying, "Where's Luke Skywalker?" It was so titillating, the notion that this character who we all know would be discovered by some new young heroine was incredibly intriguing, and it just felt to me like that was a great starting point for a story.
Remember this really interesting and cool character in The Force Awakens that had great potential in the following film called The Last Jedi?
Possibly.
And no, this won't be a Mary Sue rant, and no, I'm not paid off by Disney, though that would be nice. On December 18th, 2015, a very special movie was released in theaters. A movie that for me sparked the feeling of being a kid again, while watching my favorite franchise of all time. This movie was Star Wars The Force Awakens, directed by one J.J. Abrams.
I just want to say the obvious, which is that we are here on day one of Star Wars Episode 7.
You're here.
How incredible is that?
Both The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi gave us a character with heart, charm, and a compelling presence that we empathize with when we first meet her. A character that not many people like, but I do. Oh, and remember, it's just my opinion.
Are we allowed to talk about that?
I remember being 16 years old and sitting next to my childhood best friends in the theater years ago, getting ready to watch the best Disney-era Star Wars movie to date, with all new characters. Characters that I still like till this day, my favorite being Rey. I don't know how to explain it, but when I first saw Rey, I immediately connected with her. I could see her innocence and amazing character potential just based on this short opening snippet in the movie. This is called good storytelling, not telling the viewer who this character is, but showing them. While watching this character's journey throughout this movie, I felt something as a viewer, as a fan who loves Star Wars.
What story we wanted to tell, but mostly it began with what we wanted people to feel.
I felt the potential of a great character. Rey's journey in The Force Awakens felt so natural and rich. She's a character that everyone can relate and connect to, both men, women, boys, and girls. Many of us relate to Rey because she's a nobody. She's the everyday person who doesn't know what they're supposed to be. She's a no one who should be a someone. The hit film Star Wars The Force Awakens showed us the beginning of what could have been a great character journey in this trilogy. This film not only introduced Rey to a new generation of fans in a good movie with a good story, but it gave us a character that we can root for and get behind. J.J. Abrams delivered a compelling story with a likable, innocent protagonist, who generally everyone liked, including me, and showed us that anybody can be a somebody.
But The Force Awakens is a remake of A New Hope.
Yes, a good damn remake that carried the magic of Star Wars, which is all that matters.
We can't outrun them!
We might! In that quad jumper!
Hey! We need a pilot!
We've got one!
But Rey is a Mary Sue. She is uninteresting and boring. There are no redeeming qualities about her.
Rey is a Mary Sue by default, but that doesn't bother me. I disagree with the notion that Rey is a boring and uninteresting character, especially in The Force Awakens. This movie gives Rey actual character growth. She starts off as a lonely scavenger that runs into BB-8. Her kindness is shown when she decides to help this adorable little ball from a bad-hearted scavenger. It's little subtle things like this that made me instantly connect with Rey.
Your antenna's bent. Where do you come from? Classified, really? Me too. Big secret.
Even though we clearly can see that this droid that Rey has never met before annoys her, she still cares for his well-being. It's this subtle, likable nature that makes Rey a good, compelling protagonist.
Actually, the droids are not for sale. Come on.
As the film progresses, Rey goes from a nobody who wants to help BB-8 get to the Resistance, a droid that she earlier viewed as just a lost puppy, to now wanting to do something of purpose, something that matters. Her whole character struggle throughout this film is waiting for a family that possibly might never come back for her.
The belonging you seek is not behind you, it is ahead.
That is until she finds a new family in Finn, Leia, Chewie, and BB-8. The film began with Rey being a no one who has nobody to a someone who has somebody. That somebody is Luke. This is great character growth and development that ended with more character potential to be further explored. That is, until The Last Jedi. I was one of the few people on planet Earth who was genuinely annoyed at the Mary Sue claims back in 2016. I defended this character thinking that the people complaining were just being annoying fanboys, until I educated myself on the subject. The Last Jedi had an amazing opportunity to develop Rey into a great character, but instead subverted our expectations, that not only damaged this trilogy, but damaged this potentially great character.
I sense a trap.
Next move?
Spring the trap.
My biggest gripe with Rey in the sequel trilogy is the tragedy that her character suffered in The Last Jedi. A tragedy that resulted in her amazing potential being lost.
F***ing amazing.
Potential is having or showing the capacity to become or develop into something in the future. In this case, something more, something better, something great. This is the core essential storytelling tool that would make or break Rey. Her potential. Episode 7 set the perfect groundwork for this character. Not only did J.J. Abrams set her up to be an amazing character in the Star Wars universe, but placed her in a perfect position to further expand on her potential to become one of the greatest Star Wars characters since Ahsoka Tano, my personal favorite that I grew up watching. This argument of her being a Mary Sue does have plausible evidence. Her Mary Sue traits hold her back from developing into a good character. It doesn't give her any stakes or ability to learn and grow, since she knows and can do everything. And this hurts me, as a fan of this character, and this saga. This is why in The Last Jedi Rey couldn't progress into a better character. She couldn't grow, because she's reached the finish line before even starting it.
I'll tell you where I thought I came in. In the forest, when the lightsaber goes like this and flies off. I said, oh, what a great entrance, ah! Rey caught it? She hasn't even been to Dagobah for training!
Here you have Anakin freaking Skywalker, the chosen one, the most powerful Jedi who would eventually become the most menacing and feared man in the galaxy. Darth fucking Vader. His first encounter with a Sith Lord resulted in him being humiliated and losing part of his arm. Anakin had 10 years of Jedi training only to be swiftly destroyed by Count Dooku. Even with a decade of training, he still lost. Anakin has the highest midichlorian count than any Jedi, including Yoda, the Grand Master of the Jedi Order, which ultimately meant nothing in his first encounter, even with all that training. Here you have Luke Skywalker, arguably the most powerful Jedi to ever exist. His own arrogance led to him losing his hand. Even with partial incompleted Jedi training, he still lost on Cloud City. You know what's common with these two examples? Well, I'll tell you. Both Anakin and Luke had to train and hone their skills. Both of them had to earn their status of being a Jedi Knight. It's through intense trials and tribulations that characters develop and become better. They have to fall so they can rise into someone stronger and better. And what did we get with Rey? Now, I'm one of the very few who actually didn't mind Rey beating Kylo with no Jedi training. Her powerful nature and being able to use the Force and wield a lightsaber with no training is implied in the title of the film. It's literally called The Force Awakens, as in something has awakened in Rey.
Something inside me has always been there. But now it's awake.
It would have been justified if this was further explored and explained in The Last Jedi. Maybe we could have found out that she was a virgin in the Force, like how Anakin was.
I've encountered a virgins in the Force.
A virgins, you say?
Rey could have been a much more powerful Force spawn than Anakin, so powerful that she can quickly learn how to wield a lightsaber just based on instincts, and use the Force within hours. And while you may call it lazy writing, I find that very interesting and amazing for great character potential. That's the key to all of this, potential. What if she turned to the dark side? It would be a mirror of Anakin's journey, but instead of being a good guy early on, Rey gets corrupted and becomes a very dangerous Sith Lord. This didn't cross my mind until a year later when the whole Mary Sue stuff started to catch fire. And it still didn't bother me because of the established expectations I had for Rey. The hope that she would be the daughter of Luke Skywalker, which would explain why she was able to beat Kylo Ren, and on top of that, the Force working mysteriously in her, similar to Anakin being lucky enough to blow up a damn separatist space station as a child. This goes back to my main point, her potential being wasted in The Last Jedi. We didn't get an explanation or expansion on why Rey is able to do what she did. We didn't get any training, no character development, no compelling character arc. Just careless writing.
Well, that's just lazy writing.
Rey beating Kylo the way that she did with no initial Jedi training would be justified as long as it had a consequence. That consequence could have been arrogance that Rey develops in The Last Jedi. That arrogance would lead her down a path of character growth. Imagine if in The Last Jedi, Rey faces Kylo a second time, but instead of beating him, she loses, due to her own arrogance that she obtained after her first fight with Kylo on Starkiller Base. Rey believes that she can take on anyone or anything with no training, which would then result in her losing badly to a motivated and focused Kylo Ren. This defeat would humble Rey and change her whole mindset so that now she wants to train, wants to hone her skills, and wants to be the best that she can be so that she doesn't ever feel humiliated or defeated. Rey would go from a lonely, untrained, Force-sensitive scavenger to a determined and confident Jedi Knight. Fast forward a year later to episode 9, Rey would have grown and matured into a more disciplined character and wouldn't be so hard-headed and arrogant. This consequence would lead to a stage in her character arc that develops her and evolves her. Not only would this have pushed Rey further into being a great character, it would also add depth and growth to her, like a certain character before her. This potential that could have been was completely thrown away. It was lost.
Why do you care so much? These are fictional characters in a fictional universe. Why do you care so much about a movie series for kids?
I care because I'm a huge fan of this franchise and these characters. Hell, one of my damn goals in life is to write, direct, or even produce a Star Wars film or a TV series. Here's an accurate, theoretical voicemail call that I would have sent Kathleen Kennedy after The Last Jedi is released.
Hey Miss Kennedy, this is Star Wars Elseworlds, but you can call me Brian because that would totally be so weird you having to say Elseworlds every time you mention my name. So I just rewatched The Force Awakens for a fourth time now and wanted to say that you and JJ nailed these new characters, especially Rey, in my own humble, non-important opinion. I feel like this film you produced with Mr. Abrams did a fantastic job at setting up Rey's character for this new sequel trilogy. That is, until I saw The Last Jedi again. And don't get me wrong, I really liked The Last Jedi when I first saw it, but the more I thought about it afterwards, the more disappointed I began to feel about it. Not just the film's story, but the character arc of Rey. Since you guys established her as a Mary Sue, which I didn't mind since I was under the assumption that we would explore her parentage and find out she's the daughter of Luke Skywalker, which would then forward the plot and give us some amazing training sequences with Luke and Rey that span months apart, and finally justify her powerful Mary Sue nature in Episode 7, I would have been completely fine, but we didn't get that. Instead, we got no training and no character development. Since Rey was able to do everything in The Force Awakens, it hindered her character growth in The Last Jedi. There wasn't any stakes, or a goal for Rey to reach in that film because she already reached the ceiling without climbing. I would have recommended you guys turn Rey to the dark side and have her join Kylo Ren in the final act of the film. Maybe she could have, I don't know, killed Kylo or defeat him by taking his spot as Snoke's new apprentice? Then in Episode 9, a redeemed Kylo would bring Rey back to the light side, which results in Kylo, now being Ben Solo, being killed. I don't know, just a rough concept I had. Making Rey into a perfect character makes her a bad character. A character needs to have flaws if you want them to be good. Turning her to the dark side by showing any sign of corruption or conflict would have given her a challenge to make her prove her worth. It was also teased in The Last Jedi when Luke told her that she didn't think twice when giving into the darkness. I feel like that was the perfect spot for her to turn to the dark side later in the film.
You are a sexist and a hack. You are afraid of strong women characters. Rey isn't a Mary Sue. She is a flawless character. Respect women.
Oh boy, not this again. Anytime someone talks about Rey being a Mary Sue, which she is objectively, based on the evidence presented, or in this case, her wasted potential, which is what I'm concerned about, we get accused of being sexist. When this happens, I go back to a very special film that I hold close. A film that I thought wasn't going to be successful, but I was proven so wrong. Wonder Woman. This film is everything you want out of a superhero story. Not a female-led story, or male-led story, but just a story. It radiates so much heart, creativity, and love. Patty Jenkins understands how to craft a powerful and emotionally compelling journey about a heroine that any person can connect with. Wonder Woman does what no female-focused comic book film has been able to do. It gives us a beautiful crafted story of a person trying to do the right thing in a world filled with negativity and darkness. This film didn't focus on Diana being a woman, it focused on her being a hero. The hero we can all connect with and get behind. It doesn't matter what your background is. I remember watching this film and getting teary-eyed and goosebumps in my room at scenes like this. This film made me a Wonder Woman fan. It made me appreciate this character's arc. An arc that showed us Diana's struggle and journey. We see her train, we see her grow and hone her skills, which leaves off with a satisfying payoff by showing us through great storytelling that good character development results in a good character. That's the key to all of this. We connect with Diana in this film not because she's a woman, but because she's a good, well-crafted character.
Wonder Woman also struggles with her own love and hopes. She gets confused, insecure, and she's not perfect, and that's what makes her real. We wanted her to be universal, to be an inspiration to all people all around the world, and our plan was to make sure we didn't give too much attention to the fact that she's a woman.
I could give you endless examples of this. Alita Battle Angel, Spider-Man 2, Captain America the Winter Soldier. All of these films that build up their characters through compelling trials and tribulations. Rey could have had this in The Last Jedi, but she didn't. I'm so passionate and connected with this character that J.J. Abrams gracefully blessed us with in The Force Awakens. My distaste and utter disappointment as a fan in her potential being completely thrown down the Sarlacc pit in The Last Jedi will always bother me.
You are a shill. You're only saying this because you don't want to be blackballed by Disney in the future so you could bring your precious Star Wars trilogy to life. You are a hack and a sexist who hates women. You are afraid of strong female characters.
No, I don't hate women. Heck, a lot of my favorite characters on television and film are women because they're well-written characters that I connect with as a viewer, not because they're women, but because they're people. Characters written and presented with flaws and insecurities that show us the human side of them. This is why many of us relate to Batman and Spider-Man. I'm not afraid of strong female characters. I'm afraid of weak characters. Rather they're men or women. Weak characters equals a weak story, which equals a bad character arc. A bad film. It's hard to develop and exceed the potential of a character when they're weak and poorly mistreated. I'm afraid of seeing a potentially great character being wasted and taken 10 steps back instead of 10 steps forward. Heck, one of my dreams in life is to bring my Star Wars saga to life, starring the talented Margot Robbie as my smuggler character who's hesitant on making a better life for herself due to insecurities and trust issues, and explore heavy themes on trust and friendship. Okay, I'm getting a bit off topic here, but you get the point I'm making. I would love to see a certain theoretical Star Wars Episode 10 film, which reworks Rey and builds upon the innocent scavenger we met in Episode 7, by giving her the character development and treatment that she deserves. Imagine seeing a battle-hardened Jedi Knight Rey that has earned her title through compelling and heartfelt growth. Daisy Ridley is a brilliant actress. She's smart, talented, and charming. I believe with the right story and director she can pull off the Rey that we all hope for. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm some professional storyteller who knows all the answers. I'm just a fan. A passionate fan. A fan that wants to see this character become the best version of herself. I want to see other people like this character as much as I do. Good storytelling should make us feel something and inspire us. I love this franchise. I love this character. I want to see her develop and evolve into something much more. Something better. Something better than what we were given in The Last Jedi. And this isn't knocking down on Daisy Ridley's performance. She did an amazing job with what she was given. Heck, the film's acting was pretty good and the cinematography was solid. And this is coming from someone who now hates it.
Why are you so obsessed with Rey's potential? She doesn't have any lost potential. She is a strong female character. You're just afraid of female characters that can do no wrong.
Because with great potential comes great development. This is what Rey needs. This is what she deserves. Every character, no matter their race or gender, deserves to have their potential exceed beyond.
So to be part of something amazing that unites people, all ages, genders, two genders, race, all languages, they all come together for this one thing. It feels incredible to be a part of.
Maybe there's hope for Rey. Maybe episode 9 will give us the Rey that we all wanted in The Last Jedi. Maybe it won't. Maybe we'll get a trilogy 10 years from now that sees Daisy Ridley return to the franchise as a battle veteran Jedi Knight who's developed into a great character. Who knows? I like Rey not because of what she is, but what she can be. What I want her to be. A great character whose lost potential would be found.
I used to say I live my life a quarter mile at a time. And I think that's why we were brothers. Because you did too. Started down small, to a real climb, 'cause we're brothers first. You'll always be with me. And you'll always be my brother. How can we not talk about family when family's all that we got? Everything I would do, you were standing there by my side. And now you gon' be there for the last ride.
We'll see each other.